Hey YouTube, so I'm going to be bringing you through my black watercolor pieces with gold. See, these are just kind of abstract fun pieces. There's not really any rhyme or reason to them. There's no solid direction to take you in. I'm just going to show you how I did this one. None of them really ever come out the same, so there's an example of another one that I did. You just want to let kind of your watercolors guide you. It's a fun creative experience. Don't hold back too much when you're doing it, and don't follow the rules too much when you're doing it either. Let the piece guide you and let the colors blend together, and just kind of follow into the flow of it. I'm just going to show you how we put it together and what materials I use to create pieces like this. So as you can see in the middle, I have a metallic-y gold, and it looks really nice underneath the light. This is actually done with alcohol ink, so I'm using the Pinata Rich Gold by Jacquard for the gold on that. The black, I'm going to use Ivory Black by Winsor & Newton. And for my decoration or my detailing, I'm going to be using a couple of Arteza Real Brush pens. These are watercolor pens, and I'm going to be using Peach and Bubble Bath Pink. This is a Uniball or Unipin Fine Line Water and Fade Proof Pigment Ink brush pen, and a couple of Posca pens. So I usually use white Posca in most of my work, and on this one I'm going to add a little bit of colour by using the light pink, and then some detailing using some silver, and I might use some Copic pens as well. This is Aqua BG15. So let's get started on our piece. This is roughly 8 by 10 inch. You can use any size you want depending on how big and crazy you want to make it. So if you can see, what I have here is, this is a 12 by 12 inch tile, and this was a sample tile I got in a DIY shop. And it's awesome to use if you are like me, and I like to use a lot of colour. You can see here, I'll put this away, I have all my watercolours on it. So if I'm just using a tiny bit of colour or I want to mix it up real quick, this is my palette. I have loads and loads of palettes, but this is brilliant for quick usage. So I have this down. I can wipe it clean when I'm finished with it, but I don't usually. Unless the colours get really muddy, I will leave it like this, and I'll just dip into the different colours that I want. It's great for alcohol inks as well, because you can wipe it down with isopropyl alcohol, and the watercolours, obviously just water will clean this off. It's a great background and a protector for your table. My table's already round anyway, so but I like to have, sometimes I like a clear background. I like to have it white so I can see what I'm doing. Most of the time not, because I'm messy, but when I'm having a fanciful moment, fancy myself as a bit of organization, I'll clean that down and I have a nice background to work on. So many uses, many benefits to having it. And I also use, this is a makeup organizer, so it's just an acrylic makeup organizer, and I put my water in this for my watercolors. So this is really good for cleaning your brushes, so you're not constantly changing your water. I'm also work very quickly and don't like having to keep on going in and changing my water every time it gets muddy. So I'll wash my brush in the first one and make that the muddy water into the second one, and by the time I wash it in the third one, then your water is spotless clean, so you can change your colours around, and it's really handy. So I will just, after a paint session, clean and change the water for this one, but you don't have to do it regularly. So we're going to start off with the Pinata Rich Gold. I'm going to tighten this up. It has a little ball in the end, so you can shake it up until you hear that ball clicking. And I'm going to use a pipette to lay down some of the gold colour. Now when I'm doing this, I usually just go a haphazard kind of way. There's no rule or structure to it, so I just squeeze up a bit of the ink, spread it around, and pour it on. Now you might want to let it flow whatever way it wants itself, or you might want to manipulate it a little bit by moving your page around. or blowing on it. Now what we want to do is we want to let this dry. I'm going to hurry it up a little bit by using my Dovecraft heat tool. This just evaporates the alcohol from it, and it'll move around a little bit. The quicker you move your heat tool, the less it will move around, or you can concentrate it and leave it in one spot and it will push your inks around as well. Now it's not completely dry, but the edges are dry where I'm going to add the water, so that's good enough for now. So I'm going to take up some of the water I have here with my paintbrush, and I'm going to dab it around close to the gold. Flick some water around. You can just be playful with this part of it. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's not really any rule on it. We're experimenting now. I'm going to take my black watercolor, pop some down on my palette. And bring it in where your water is and let it bleed. What I generally like to do when I'm doing a piece like this is keep my concentrated black colour close to the gold and let it graduate out, so it's getting it's like ombre kind of. As it goes out, it gets lighter and lighter, but we're keeping a dark concentration of watercolors close to the gold, because it's a nice contrast. The gold looks lovely next to the black and it looks really well. And the nice thing is, to go up onto the gold, you can just wipe that off when you're finished, so you will maintain the integrity of the gold. You can help it along by just blowing the black paint into the water that you have pooled. Give you that wispy line. Or you can use your heat gun as well to move it around a little bit more. So I'm going to pick up the rest of the black and I'm just going to flick some black paint. And while the black is still wet, I'm going to take some colour from just what I have around here. I don't want to go over the top with this. I just want to add tiny little hints of colour into different parts of the piece. We don't have to go too crazy with this. You want the main colours to be the black and the gold. And just kind of whispers of pink and blue, I think I'll go for here. Once your piece is fully dry, we can go in now with our detailing. So I'm going to start with the bubble bath pink, and I'm going to just add little detailing, again the same way we did with the colours in the watercolour. I'm not going to go over the top with it. I'm just going to add small bits that just pop. And these are watercoloured, so you can bring them into the black and have them blend seamlessly with it. And this is our peach. And our aqua Copic. This has two ends. It's a so you have an angled end and a brush end. I prefer to use the brush end, so that's what I'm going to use here. And I'm going to use this as well for some dot detailing. With these brushes you can, what I like to do when I'm dotting is light dots and harder ones then to make bigger circles. It makes it a little bit more interesting to look at. So just adding a little bit of pressure on that brush tip. And then our Uni Posca white. I like to do different designs. So sometimes I will do dotting with this or lines. So I'm going to go with lines this time. So you just want to push the nib down, give it a good shake, and you can hear that ball mixing up the paint, and then just press it down to get the paint flowing. So I'm going to do different level lines up here. Sometimes I think that when we're painting we tend to overthink a lot of stuff, and you know, when we're doing these lines we want them to be straight or want them to be in the right place. Try and take your mind out of it a little bit. This process is meditative, so it is nice. It's a nice way to relax and to get that flow. Kind of your creativity and your inspiration will be blocked if you're thinking too much about your piece, or you have too much focus on the end result instead of enjoying the process that you're immersed in the moment. So it's about being mindful in your painting, and by mindful I don't mean be thinking too much about the painting, but by mindful I mean when you're making the strokes, be immersed in how the pen feels and the ink that's flowing, instead of about where it's flowing or what's coming out, how your piece is coming together. Just be right in the exact moment of painting. Feel your paintbrush, feel your paint, concentrate on that more than the painting will paint itself if you get yourself into a space of flow. and your creativity will thank you for it. You will get more inspiration. It will just come from nowhere. You're not overthinking it. So I'm going to go in with the brush now, and I think I'm going to do some, I'm not sure exactly what this piece needs, so I'm just going to take this bit and I'm just going to go in and go flow with it. So I like to add like lines, dots, colours. Sometimes I'll add gold leaf over this just to add some more texture. It gives it a really interesting kind of feel to it. I like to make paintings that have a lot to look at. I really like detailing on detailing, to give the person that's looking at it like an interesting experience. I'm going to go in with the black Posca pen now. Oh, this is my silver. I'm going to go with the pink, so. And I'm going to bring the pinks that I already have here out a little bit. So just concentrating on where I already have a little bit of colour. And I'm doing the same thing, so hard dots and tiny soft dots to get our different sizes. I'm not quite sure that this is finished yet, so I'm going to take some more gold, shake it up. And I'm going to take a paintbrush and I'm just going to do a little bit of gold splatter. So I have a paintbrush specifically I use for gold because it will ruin your paintbrush. So this is just a cheap paintbrush that I don't mind if I need to throw it out eventually. The isopropyl alcohol will wash the gold off it, but it can be quite sticky as well, so it gets everywhere. You don't want to use an expensive paintbrush for this. So I'm just taking a tiny bit of the Pinata Gold onto my paintbrush and I'm going to flick it. I'm concentrating on the black because it gives a more contrast effect and it's easier to see. It's very hard to see the gold on any of the white part of the paper. And with the excess then I'm going to just make these lines a little bit less clean. So they're quite flush here, kind of soft. I'm going to just jagged them out a little bit, if that's the correct terminology. Jagged it out. I think the most important part, once you have the inspiration down and you get yourself into the mind frame of flowing and let that kind of inspiration just come to you, the hardest part for artists after that is knowing when to stop on their piece. So you don't want to kind of overwork your piece. I'm going to go in with my finger again just to mess this up a little bit. It's a little bit too neat for me. I like a bit of chaos. Okay, so I think that is finished now. I'm quite happy to not add any more detail and overwork it. So I'll just show you there. You can see that gorgeous shimmer that the alcohol ink gold gives you on the watercolor paper. And I hope you enjoyed following along this process with me. I'm on Instagram, The Colourful Heartist, if you want to share the pieces that you did after watching this little lesson. I'd love to see them, so you can tag me in them and let me have a look at what you've created.